Morning, Bones.
Good morning, Padre.
So, what's on your mind this morning?
I'm a bit confused. My brain's a little bit racked here from confusion with everything that's happening inside of our government, from the federal level, state level, local levels. You know, I focus on Portland because we're in the near the West Coast, so we get more news. But why is the resistance there with orders when they took an oath for their position?
Well, that's a great question, Bones, because that oath of office, any federal employee, I mean, I've taken it a few times in the military, law enforcement. That oath of office is pretty clear cut. And I've often questioned myself what is going on with our leaders. We can talk from federal shutdowns to resistance to comply with orders from the president, resistance to uphold the law. Uh, I mean, we could go on and on with this. There's so much of it going on, and it's going on right out in the public's face. Uh,
Yeah, well, why don't we take a minute and break down that oath and then talk about what is happening?
okay, well, actually, in the U.S. Constitution, Article 6, it says that you are, if you're a federal employee, which encompasses all legislators, politicians, you are required to take an oath of office. And the oath is pretty simple. I've got it pulled up here. I, blank, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true.
Hold it, hold it right there.
Okay,
All enemies, all enemies, foreign and domestic.
exactly.
So, uh, the terroristic group of Antifa has been declared a terroristic group
Mm-hmm.
from the White House,
Yep.
and they are a domestic terrorist group,
Yeah, they're
in
a
my mind.
foreign and domestic. They you've got anybody that's violating the law in mass. They are enemies, foreign and domestic, and we're supposed to be upholding the Constitution of the United States of America.
Correct.
So any violation and not upholding that Constitution and defending the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, would be a violation of that oath, in my opinion.
My opinion also. It's pretty cut and dry what it says. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So then we break
uh,
it down a little further that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation for purpose of evasion, and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter, so help me God. Now, you really look at it as three important aspects. First, they swear to support and defend the Constitution against enemies. Foreign and domestic doesn't even need to be in there. You're sworn to protect the Constitution against enemies. And then you're swearing allegiance to the Constitution and you're promising to do your job well. I don't see that happening right now.
I don't either. It's like I can't remember who you said in one discussion we were having, but they said either get on board with what we got going on or get out of my way.
Well,
You
and
know,
that was Senator Ted Cruz out of Texas speaking to J.D. Pritzker out of Illinois. And basically, they're sending in National Guard troops out of Texas to try to quell the domestic terrorism up there, the interference with federal law enforcement. They're going after not only illegal immigrants with ICE, but they're going after Antifa. And J.B. Pritzker has been resistant and saying that sending in federal troops is an assault on my citizens, is what he's trying to claim. Ted Cruz told him, I'm sending my troops. You can either support them or get out of my way.
Oh, the order came from above, and that's part of or within the oath, about orders. So Ted Cruz accepted an order and is carrying it out, a lawful order.
Right.
So anybody, like local law enforcement, local government, state government, state law enforcement officers should all support the effort being put out by the National Guard
Exactly.
and
They're
ICE
there to
and ICE
assist.
and ICE. So yeah, they should support and assist that program. But yet we get this resistance. So is that is that breaking the oath?
Well, let's go into maybe what some of that means and what you're supposed to be doing. So if
Okay.
somebody in authority gives a federal worker, which encompasses all these politicians, if they give them a lawful order that they don't agree with, the disagreement might be for ethical reasons, differences in policy direction, or any other reason, the federal employee is still required to follow that lawful order, even if they disagree with it. Um, I know in law enforcement and in youth corrections and in the military, we had to pass an ethics test every year, and that question was always on there. Do you have to agree with all policies and orders? And the answer to the question is no. You don't have to agree with them, but you do have to follow and support them. I This is the biggest violation I see right now. You have
So
lawful orders
uh,
coming down from the President of the United States, and they are not being followed. They're being resisted based on moral and policy discrepancies or disagreements.
by our federal, state, and local government employees who are under oath to carry out orders.
Exactly.
Um, so is there I don't know in there inside of that. So if you break your oath of office, what are the consequences for that?
Well, they talk about uh, if you violate your oath of office, you should be removed, basically. Now, they do talk about unlawful orders, but even refusing an unlawful order can be risky. It depends on how much risk you want to take to violate if you believe an order to be unlawful. And for you to fall under the believing it's unlawful, you have to prove that it's not something you just disagree with. You're not required to break the law to follow your oath, but if you don't follow that direct order, you can still be subject to disciplinary actions and removal from the office of which you hold. Um, there are several examples. The problem is federal workers are accountable to the people. It doesn't matter if you support Trump, supported Biden, or another candidate, or whoever it is. None of that is even relevant to the oath of allegiance to the Constitution or your promise to carry out your job. What we're seeing, again, we've named it several times, TDS. Uh, you're seeing workers not doing their job just because they don't like who's giving the order. It's not even necessarily that they disagree with it. In fact, in several instances, you can see people coming out. Let's talk about Chuck Schumer and what this federal government shutdown is about. Democrats are holding out because they want to keep in money going to the federal health care acts for all people, including illegal immigrants. He is ranting up and down about this health care issue, making sure that illegal immigrants and all other people get the health care benefits. You can look back maybe 5, 6 years, and you will see that Chuck Schumer was vehemently against this policy. He did not want it. He actually called giving this money to illegal immigrants and people that don't deserve it a ripoff of the federal government and taxpayer dollars. Yet now, because it's coming from the other side, he's changed his tune. This has nothing to do with what he actually believes. This is
Well,
nothing but defiance.
according to his own history, right?
Exactly.
I'm one way this year, but now I'm this way because somebody else is in charge.
Right. To me,
Yeah,
it's a lack of professionalism on the part of these government officials that are just being resistant to be resistant.
oh, anyway, I don't know, but how, like, the way I see it from here, if they're breaking the oath of office, they're breaking their oath and they're going against their oath to carry out their personal agenda or the agenda of the party or whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
uh, who would remove them from their position? Who would, you know, how would that work?
Well, the federal government, the people in charge, the person over them. So if you're talking about a governor, your senators and your vice president, president, they should be acting upon these things instead of
Right,
carrying out arguments in front of the people.
right.
These
Well, yeah,
discussions and disagreements should be held behind closed doors, and our administration, our government should be providing a united front to the people. Um, I I'm looking at an article here where they're talking about they're hearing more and more from people who are saying that federal workers should support the president more, or that federal workers should actively work against the president. Uh, we've heard it to a lesser degree in previous administrations, but neither is true. Federal workers should do their jobs, obey the law, and carry out their oath to support and defend the Constitution. That is what the American people expect and deserve from their public servants.
right, right.
And let's not
Yeah,
forget, because we kind of skipped over that part of it, these politicians are not there to control us. They are there to serve the people,
right.
upholding the
Yeah,
Constitution. The Constitution is of the people, by the people, and for the people.
exactly, exactly. And that's kind of why, the main reason why I wanted to talk about it. So I'm glad you brought that back up. So here we are as the people of the U.S. watching all this disarray in our federal, state, and local governments, and it's not all the politicians, it's not all the elected officials, but it's coming from a party of people that is directly against what's happening with the administration in the White House.
Exactly. So, my question would be, regardless of which administration is in charge, their oath is to do their job, obey the law, carry out their oath, support and defend the Constitution. It has nothing to do with my oath is to support my party. My oath is to push my agenda. My oath is to not support a specific party. That's nowhere in the oath.
No, no, it's all brought on by personal thoughts, feelings, or agendas, and a collective, whatever you want to call it, mostly lies coming from other people that are above the people that are running the state. Uh, you know, so it's just a chain reaction from the top of the party to the bottom of the party,
Mm-hmm.
including the people on the street. Um, So I wanted to just make sure people knew the oath of office. And, I believe that if I was to take that oath, I would definitely follow it as best of my ability to the T.
Well, exactly, and you're required if you want to maintain that job or that position. So let's look at some of these. We talk about in Portland, we talk about in Illinois, California, these governors, senators, mayors whose cities are under siege by
Oh
criminal
yeah.
element. By criminal element, they're out of
Yep.
control. They've got the
Yep.
highest crime rates. Their people are not safe to walk the street. And the president of the United States said, we're going to give you assistance because those people deserve that protection from their public servants.
Well, he's ordered law and order um, across the land.
Mm-hmm.
We will maintain law and order. Um, basic order given out. So either clean up your state, or I'm gonna send the National Guard or whatever I have to do in there to clean up your state.
Exactly. To give your constituents what they deserve. And yet you have these politicians rebelling.
Yeah.
We don't want the National Guard. We don't want your help. We've got it under control when obviously it is not under control.
Nope, it's not. It's not.
Obviously, they are under attack. Obviously, their citizens are not safe. And they're refusing and bucking back against this help. I would say they're in direct violation to their oath of office.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me, if you look inside, like I know people that live in different states, and I know some that are on board with their government, the state government pushing against Trump, and that comes from direct hatred towards Trump. You
Exactly.
know, uh,
Exactly.
and they're resistant. They won't listen to logic. They won't listen to common sense. Um, and they're on board, and they're pushing for what their governor or whatever wants. Um, but I don't understand why you'd want to live in the muck. If you got a bunch of muck and mire, wouldn't you want it cleaned out?
What you would think. You would think. And from what I'm seeing and what I'm following in these areas where the National Guard has been sent in, you've got politicians screaming and hollering and kicking like little children that didn't get their candy bar at the store. But the flip side of that is you've got citizens standing along the street like there's a parade in support of this because they're feeling safe again in their cities.
Yes, and that's the positive side of it. It's like I use Washington D.C. for example. The citizens all came out after it got cleaned up. The carjackings went down. The murders are basically non-existent in the city, and the citizens all gave a great big thank you
Right.
for that happening.
And
So
this was also in a city where you had a governor and a mayor who were resistant to it. But once it started occurring, came back out and said, you know what, we were wrong. We're thankful that this happened.
yeah, they'd actually given out orders to their local law enforcement not to help or participate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, but some of the officers said, well, they took an oath,
Yep.
and the orders coming from above. So guess what I'm going to do?
Exactly.
So not all of them, but some of them got on board and started helping out. Whether they wanted to or not. Um, and that's basically how it should be. A collective uh, enforcement. You
Right.
know,
Well, and you look years ago, um, I believe it was under the Obama administration, and there was an attack of the Second Amendment, and they were talking about taking away people's firearms. And what I saw were sheriffs from several jurisdictions come out publicly and say, we will not enforce that. It is not a lawful order. It's a direct violation of the Constitution. And if you send people in to enforce something, we will go against it. Now, that was obviously an unlawful order in violation of the Constitution.
right, right, right.
Now, you come to today's scenario, ordering in federal troops to clean up crime against illegal immigrants, against Antifa, against enemies, foreign and domestic. And you've got politicians saying, we are not going to support this. It's an illegal act. Well, it's not an illegal act. This is part of your job. It is part of the Constitution to make sure that your citizens are safe. And you can't go against that based on a policy discrepancy or a policy you don't like or a moral issue you don't agree with. These are lawful orders that fall under the Constitution of the United States of America, and you are sworn to uphold them. You don't have the right to not obey these.
We could have, again, we could rebuild and have the most beautiful country in the world if everybody got on board with the support of the law, the enforcement of the law, the Constitution of the United States, the senators and governors and mayors of state, local, and federal got on board with acting out according to their oath instead according to whatever it is they're acting out to.
Well, supporting their party's agenda or actively working against another party.
Yeah.
This is not part of the oath. Your oath is to the people, to the Constitution.
Yeah, if you would unite and become part of the United States, we could have a real beautiful country again.
Yes. And we're seeing that across the nation in most areas. We're seeing law and order. We're seeing governments working together, supporting policies. And then you've got all this resistance that just keeps stirring the mud off the bottom of the pond and muddying the water. Let's work together. Let's get this water to settle and let it be clear again.
Yeah. Take your blinders off, people. Take your blinders off. Do your research. Read the Constitution. Read the Sixth Amendment. How the senators, how your government is supposed to be run with the oath of office. And vote accordingly. Vote for somebody that will carry out that oath. All I got to say, really, but that's how we clean it up.
Exactly. And it's been said before on other issues that have been of discrepancy where politicians were going to violate federal law. And instead of coming out and reprimanding, the administration put it right back out, exactly as you just stated. These battles will not be won in courtrooms. They'll be won at the polls by the people. Getting rid of these politicians that are not upholding their oath of office. So from Padre Havoc and Bones, again, do your research. Look at the Constitution. Let's get rid of these politicians that are ruining our country. and not upholding their oath of office.
Exactly. In my mind, taking an oath really means something. It goes deep. So if you take an oath, follow that oath, no matter if it's for your company, for the government, for your employment, whatever it is, for your wife, follow that oath. Obey what's inside that oath.
I agree, Bones.
Stay positive, everybody.